Okay, good afternoon. Once again, we are continuing with our topic, production management. We have done some aspects of this topic. For example, we have talked about the meaning of production, the factors of production. We've also talked about forms of production, and so on and so forth. Today we are going to look at another important subtopic. The last time we met, we talked about the meaning of production management. Then we looked at the production process. We used a diagram to look at the process, and then a table that was used to show the various input, the process, and then the output. Today we are going to look at an important topic. It is very important because it is something that you must know, especially for case study. You know, case study is an important aspect of business management. You have to do very well there if you want to get A1, because that aspect alone takes 25 marks. And usually you must understand some of these topics. Location of industry, the success or failure of any business depends so much on where the business is located, the site. So in economics, you talk about location of industry. You also talk about something we call localization of industry. The two are not the same, but we are looking at location of industry. What is it? Then what are the factors that you have to consider in locating industry? Now, when you talk about location of industry, one word should come to your mind, and that is the word site. Site, where you are siting your firm, the firm. You cannot just site your firm just anywhere. You must purposefully site it at a place that will lead to the success of the business. If you site your firm at a wrong place, you will certainly fail. So it is very important. So more often, these cases, you want to find out what made the business successful, and at times the business became successful because of where it was sited. Then at times too, you are asked why the business failed. Then when you read the case, I'm not saying all the time you have to talk about this. When you read the case, you find out that probably the business was not successful because it was sited at the wrong place. So there are certain factors that you have to consider before you site, before you locate the firm at a particular place. So you know, when you even come to school, after we had finished with marketing, you are going to write your business plan or your marketing plan, it's group project work, and then for a whole week, from Monday to Friday, you are going to execute your plan. In other words, you are going to sell products and you are going to apply all the things you have learned. Location will be very, very important. Location of your business will be very, very instrumental for its success or failure. So when you are to give your report, then you know, those of you who might have succeeded, what made you succeed. Those of you who might have failed, what made you fail. So the location is very, very important. So when you talk about location of industry, you are only looking at the site of your industry, the place where the industry was sited because of certain factors. For example, you might have started it there because you think the raw materials that you are going to use, that is where you can get the raw material. So we are going to look at some of the factors that you have to take into consideration before you locate your firm at a particular place. So that is that. And remember, a firm is an establishment that is meant for profit motive. So you produce particular product or product for profit motive. Then when firms, different firms, so firm A, firm B, firm C, produce similar or the same product, then they come together to be called industry. So industry means firms that produce similar products. So for example, you can have the cement industry. So when you look at the cement industry, then what are the firms involved? So you can have Gassen, you can have Jata Cement and others. You see, they all produce similar or the same product, that is the cement. So they all belong to the cement industry. You can even talk about the Insu industry. When you talk about Insu industry, we have various firms that comprise the Insu industry. You can talk about the textiles industry. When you talk about the textiles industry, there are several firms that comprise the textile industry. So you should be able to distinguish between a firm and industry. When you say a firm, what is a firm? When you say industry, what is a firm? So what are the factors you consider before you locate your firm in a particular place? Number one, proximity or closeness to the source of raw material. Proximity. You have to consider the proximity or the closeness of the raw material to where you are siting the industry. As you move along, you know that that is not the only thing you have to consider. There are other things. So always, you may not have to look at it and say that, oh, this is where the raw materials are. So then necessarily, that is where I have to know. At times, the raw materials may be at a certain place, but you may not necessarily have to cite the industry because of one reason or the other. So when you are citing the industry, we are saying one of the factors you have to take into consideration is the closeness or proximity. The two terms are synonymous. So closeness or proximity to the source of raw material. Now, when you realize that, you see, where you want to transport the raw material, if you site the firm at a place, and you see that you have to go for the raw materials elsewhere, but the raw materials are bulky and more expensive to transport from the source to where you are citing the industry, then it means that it will not be appropriate to cite the industry elsewhere and then you transport the raw materials. So what you may then have to do is that you may have to cite the factory at where the source close. When I say close, it may be the same area, the same town, or a town or a village that is closer to the source of the raw material. So you need to look at it. Why am I citing the firm at the source of raw material? Number one, is the raw material bulky to transport? Is it more expensive to transport the raw material than to transport the finished product? If you realize that it is more expensive, or it will be more expensive to transport the raw materials to where it was cited than to transport the finished product to the market, then it will be appropriate for you to locate the industry or to cite the firm at a place that is closer to the source of raw material. Then there are certain raw materials, they may be fragile. That means they can easily break. So if that is the case, then it means transporting such fragile raw materials over a long distance may also not be appropriate. So then you may have to also cite the industry or the firm at that source. But where you don't have the raw material, then it will be very inappropriate to even cite that particular industry. Now, let me give you a typical example. You see, if we are transporting sugar cane, you know what we use sugar cane to make is a raw material of a certain product, and the name tells you that sugar. So it's sugar cane that is used to make sugar. If you want to establish a sugar industry or firm, what do? It will be appropriate to cite it at a place that is closer, where you have the raw materials. Because you see, it is transporting sugar cane to over a long distance. Sugar cane is bulky, it's heavier. That raw material is heavier. It contains a lot of water. But when it is processed, it becomes into sugar. It becomes lighter than the raw material itself. And therefore, it will be appropriate for you to cite it at a place where you have the raw material. That is why the Commander Sugar Factory, those years, was established there because the raw material, which is sugar, was there. Now, this industry collapsed. Then government, somewhere along the line, wanted to revamp it. And the machines, they actually repaired, they bought machines and did what have you. But you see, up till now, it had not become operational. Why? Now, Prince Ten is here. She's going to read the reason why. So now, let's look at it. There is newspaper item from Ghana Web, and she's going to read why the Commander Sugar Factory is still not operational. Read it. So from Ghana Web, what is it? The heading says what?
Commander Sugar Factory never produced sugar, lacks sugar cane variety.
So you see, it never produced sugar. Then the heading tells us the reason. So what is the reason? It is what?
Lacks sugar cane.
Lacks what? Sugar cane, which is the raw material. Now read the article to a certain point. Let's go.
The Commander Sugar Factory in the Central Region, inaugurated by former President John Mahama a year ago, has never fully produced sugar.
Now, is that a year ago? Let's look at a year ago. Doesn't mean that today is today's date. We all know today's date, but a year ago. So when was this article written? So let's look at the date. When was this article written? So that when they say a year ago, then you know what we are looking at. So now we have seen the date, so she's going to tell us the date. So this article was written when?
Sunday, 13th August 2017.
So Sunday, 13th August 2017. So if they said a year ago, then you can do your own calculation. Now, so let's go. So a year ago, carry on.
According to the Deputy Trade Minister, Robert Akuma Lindsay, government upon the inauguration of the factory bought semi-processed sugar.
So what the government bought there was semi-processed sugar. They didn't have the store, semi-processed sugar.
Which they now shut down factory refined for people to taste.
Okay.
He explained to the Public Accounts Committee last Friday that the variety of raw sugar cane.
So the variety of raw sugar cane, the sugar cane,
required for commercial production.
So that was required for commercial production.
To feed the factory was not available.
So that is that. It wasn't available. So there are a lot of other things, but I think this one explains our point so well. So raw materials are very important. And when you are citing the industry too, it is very important for you to cite it at a place that is closer to the source of raw material. Having talked about that, the next factor is proximity to the market. Proximity to the market. When we are through with production management, our next and last topic will be marketing management. When we say market, what is market? What is market to an economist? What is market to a marketer? When a marketer talks about market, it is not necessarily, or more often when a marketer talks about market, he's not talking about a structure. So like you say Kotokraba market, you say the Kaneshi market, which is a structure. Market in marketing goes beyond just a place where buyers and sellers meet to interact, to have transactions. Market in marketing more often means the people that you are going to sell your product to. So in marketing, you need to have what you call your target market. So when you come to school and you are executing that project of yours, you need to know what is your target market. Is it male or female? Is it the Form 3 students or the Form 1 student or your colleagues? Is it a particular class? Is it teachers? Or what will be your target market? And market is very, very important, because in marketing, the market is the most important thing. Because if you don't have the people that you are going to sell your product to, then there will not be any need for you to even make the product. So the factory or your firm should be sited at a place that is closer to the market, those who are going to buy your product. Let me give you to make an example. If you come to school and, for example, whatever product that you come out with, the students of University Practice Senior High School are your market. Then you go and then site or locate at Kwapro. Then you see, you certainly lose. Your business will fail. And in citing the firm at a place that is closer to the market, there are certain factors you have to also take into consideration. You remember when we were talking about source of raw material, closeness to the source of raw material. We said where the raw material is bulky, where it is fragile, then it should be located at the place where the source of raw material is. In the same way, when the finished product is bulkier or heavier than the raw material, you know there are some products you have to add water. Or by the time you finish it, the finished product is heavier than the raw material. So transporting the finished product will be more to the market, will be more expensive than transporting the raw material. Then it will be appropriate for you to site or locate the industry or the firm at a place that is close to the market where the people are going to buy your product. You don't need to, if the product is going to be bought in town A, then we have town, let's say A, town B, town C, town D. From here to here is, let's say, 300 kilometers. Then you come and site the factory here in town A and transport the goods to town D. If town D is the market, then that will not be appropriate. So what you need to do is to site the industry here, so that you go for, assuming you don't have the raw materials here, and it will be less expensive to transport the raw materials than to transport the finished goods, then it will be appropriate for you to locate the industry in town D instead of town A. So that is number two. Where the finished product too is fragile, it can easily break. Or where the product is highly perishable, then you can locate the firm at a place that is closer to the market. So that is for that one. Point two, proximity to the market. Proximity here, as we have done, means nearness or closeness to the market. And I've explained why you need to do that instead of where the raw materials will be, or why it should be, when I was explaining that of the raw material, why it should be cited at the source of raw material instead of here. So that is that. So I talked about finished product is bulkier and expensive to transport. Then where it is also fragile. Then I've given the example. That is why the breweries, the furniture firms are cited in the cities like Kumasi, Accra, and so on and so forth. So that is that. The next point, very simple, straightforward, is availability of labor. We know labor as a factor of production. Very, very important. Labor. You know, we have skilled and unskilled labor. So when you are citing your industry, you have to cite it at where you have what are the right kind of skilled or unskilled labor, the right kind. If you need a particular kind of labor, they are in Accra, but you come inside the industry at a place that is about 100 kilometers, 50 kilometers away, then you have to be transporting even labor from one point to another, and that may be more expensive. So you need to locate, you need to cite the firm at the place where you have the right kind of both skilled and then unskilled labor. So that is that. The next point, very simple. We all know that energy is very important when we are talking about the production process. When we look at the resource input, we realize that energy was very important. We realize that human resource was very important. So we said availability of labor. Energy too was very important. The machines, if they can work, you need electricity. You need power before the machines can work. So you have to cite the industry at a place that is closer to power supply and other where you have other amenities. So there should be water supply. If you are using water so much, there should be water available. So if you go inside the industry at a place where you don't have power supply, then you may have to buy plant, which may be more expensive, or where you don't have stable water supply, there will be interruptions. There will be where you are affected by doom. So you remember when there was doom, so how most firms lost so much to the extent that they had to close down or downsize. When I say downsize, they reduced the number of their employees. Some of the employees were made redundant. And when I say some of the employees were made redundant, having done human resource management, you understand what is meant by being made redundant. So it is very important that when you are citing your firm, especially where you are going to use power, where you are going to use energy, you cite it at where power will be available. And not only power, other amenities. So that is for that one. Then another reason for citing an industry at a particular place will also be government policy. Government policy. You know, when we were talking about public corporations, we said the government intervenes. The government also establishes these public corporations, because the private individuals may not be motivated. They are profit oriented, and they may not be motivated to establish some businesses at certain places where they will not make the needed profit. So the government will now come in. In the same way, the government can also encourage other businesses to be established at certain places. So the government can, for example, give tax holiday, tax rebates, and other incentives to certain firms that might be sited at certain places. If that is the case, then it means that such policy is the one that some people may consider, okay, let me go and cite my firm at this place because I'm going to enjoy tax holiday. Let me go and start my firm here because the government is going to do A and B and C for me. So that is that government policy can also be a factor that a firm may consider before it is cited at a certain place. The next one, very simple, straightforward, is that you see there are commercial centers. I told you will be talking about what we call localization of industry in economics. When you talk about location of industry, we are talking about where the firm is sited. But when you talk about localization, we are looking at the concentration of firms at a particular place. So this firm, that firm, that firm, they are concentrated at a particular place. So what are the reasons why you do that in economics? So that becomes a commercial center. Other businesses use the byproduct of some businesses. If you are making, let's say, fertilizer, you may use byproduct of some businesses as your raw material. So if that is the case, then you may have to cite your firm at that particular place where you can get the byproduct. So it is at a commercial center. The commercial center also can also talk where you have banking facilities or banking services, where you can easily deposit your money, where you can go for loans and so on and so forth. So it is very important to also look at commercial center where there are other businesses located, so that you can also cite your firm there. So closeness to a commercial center. So I said in respect of that, you look at close to other businesses, and those businesses can be source of raw materials for you. Then you can also have access to banking services. So it is very important. Then the last one I have here, very simple. When I was talking about proximity to the source of raw material, when I was talking about proximity to the market, that factor too was instrumental. I mentioned it, and that is availability of transport. When we go to marketing, when we are learning marketing, we shall talk about the 4 P's. The last P is place, which is also distribution. When the product is made and the product is priced, and you have made the product known to others through promotion, the product must be available to the market, and it is through transportation services that the product is made available. The finished product must be conveyed to the market, and when it is through transport services that the product will get to the market. So good road network is very important. Do you have good road network? Do you have transportation services available to convey the goods from the point of manufacturing to the market? You need to consider that before you cite the firm. Otherwise, perishable goods may easily get spoiled, and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this afternoon's lesson, location of industry. We looked at the meaning of location of industry, and the word that was so important was site. Site, where you are going to cite the firm. And we also look at the difference between a firm and industry. Then we have looked at 7 factors. So that's why at the initial stage I said we are going to look at some. We cannot look at all. So we have looked at 7 factors that you have to consider in locating your firm. And I said it is very important to do that, because if you don't, a wrongly located firm or business will certainly fail, or it's a recipe for failure. In other words, if you cite your firm at the wrong location, you are in to fail. Till we meet another time or day to continue with our lessons on production management. We'll be looking at the production system and so on and so forth. Remember, there is a video that I put on your WhatsApp platform, and I told you to watch that video, because when we come to production system, we'll be looking at the intermittent production system, we'll be looking at the continuous production system, and the video I put there is going to be used to explain to you what the continuous production system is. Look at, they were making gari, but look at when they brought the cassava. Look at where the truck put the cassava. Then there was a conveyor that carried it through. It gets to a point and something is done on the cassava. It is peeled at a certain point. Each of the points where work was done is called workstation. So when I come and I mention workstation, you should understand what is meant by workstation. So you see, it is called continuous because if you watch it, you will see that when they put the thing there, the cassava passed through various parts of the machine, and at the end of the day, the gari came out, and then they packaged it in the sack. So it is very important for you to watch it. And you can also go to YouTube to download your own videos and watch intermittent production. When you say intermittent, that one is not continuous. So it's like a tailor that is whom you have sent your material to sew a dress for you. The tailor will do the cutting elsewhere. He carries the material to somewhere to do whatever measuring. He carries it to somewhere. The tailor can even go for break. He comes back. He's even working on your own. He leaves it. Then he goes to another person. So that is intermittent. That is not continuous. So we shall look at these things very soon. Till we meet another time to continue with our lesson. What are you telling them? Is it only Baba, and they should do what?
They should revise.
Yes. Yes. So you study. You study. You meet another time.